Members of the jury, the plaintiff in this action is engaged in business in this city of ours. She was a young woman of about the age of 35 at the time of the happening of the occurrence of which she complains. She seeks in this action to recover from the defendant the sum of $10,000, in which sum she says she has been damaged because of injuries which were received by her because of the negligent manner in which an operation was performed on her by one of the employees of this defendant in the attempt to put into her hair what is called a permanent wave. By her complaint, she alleges that the defendant and its employees performed certain work upon her hair with the use of a machine claimed by the defendant to be especially adapted to such purposes, but did such work so negligently, unskillfully, and carelessly that the plaintiff's hair and scalp were burned and her hair fell out, leaving large bald spots, and instead of being waved, became what is known as kinky, so that her appearance became ridiculous, and she says that because of that she has been compelled to undergo medical and other treatments, and still continues to undergo such treatments, and that she has been compelled to expend large sums of money in the treatment of her hair and head, and she claims that such injuries are permanent, damaging her, she says, in the sum of $10,000. The defendant, by its answer, denies the allegations of the complaint so far as they relate to claims of negligence. The plaintiff has submitted her testimony and offered evidence to substantiate her claim, and the defendant rests on testimony given by the plaintiff presenting no evidence, claiming that accepting all of that to be true, no liability has been established against it for the misfortune which overtook the plaintiff. Let us at the outset realize the respective functions of the court and jury. I think it well to say that to you at the very outset of your commencement of service at this term, so that you will realize, as you consider whatever controversy may be submitted to you, what the respective functions of the court and jury are. The function of the court is to instruct you as to the law, and incidentally to pass upon questions of evidence arising during the trial. The law that the court says applies to the particular controversy must be accepted by you as the law of the case, even if you do not like it, even if you think it should be different. Please have that in mind when you retire to deliberate upon what your verdict shall be, because in my experience at this present term, a jury which had, up to that particular case, done splendid service fell down miserably because they preferred to take their own view of the law rather than what the court said was the law. The law that the court now instructs as applicable to this case must be accepted by you and applied in your determination of this controversy. You are the judges of the facts. After keeping in mind what the court says is the law applicable, neither may invade the function of the other. If I had an opinion and a question of fact, I could not impose that upon you. You are the sole examiners of the facts, keeping in mind the law that the court says applies to the case. During the course of the trial, the court denied various motions made by counsel for the defendant to dismiss this action. You are not thereby to assume that the court has any opinion on the question of fact. It has none and may not have any. The effect of the denial of these motions was simply that the court felt that there was a question that you gentlemen were called upon to determine, and the action by the court in that respect is not to be considered by you to the prejudice of this defendant. Now, the defendant offered no evidence. Although he did not offer any evidence, you must still, before this plaintiff may have any recovery, find that she sustained the allegations of her complaint respecting negligence. This defendant had the right to rest as he did upon the testimony of the plaintiff, and the fact that he did so is by no means to be taken by you as a confession by him that the plaintiff is right. Before the plaintiff may have a recovery, you must still find first that she was injured as she says she was, secondly that she has been damaged, and then the amount of the damages sustained by her, which, of course, is somewhat intangible, and which is left to your sound judgment if you gentlemen find a verdict in her favor. She has imposed upon her the burden of proving these things by evidence of probative value that proves the fact. The fact standing alone that her scalp was burned and her hair came out and its color was changed will not be sufficient to sustain a recovery. You must still find, before this defendant may be called upon to respond, that what was done to her was because of the negligent manner in which the operator performed her task, or the insufficiency or inadequacy or incompetency of the machinery used by that operator in doing what she did to this plaintiff here. The first question you are called upon to determine is, was her scalp burned? Was there a consequent loss of hair? And was there a change of color of her hair consequent upon that? If you find no such thing really happened to her, then she may not have a recovery. But I remind you here that there was no contradiction of her testimony that that did occur. And I remind you of the testimony of her friend who... Okay.
That's good. How fast was that?
It was...